Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. Today I have some more Bigfoot emails to read off, so let's get right into it. This first Bigfoot email was sent in by Andrea. My family and I have had a family of Sasquatch visiting our home for over 4 years. We have developed a relationship with a young male of the family, and we have had very interesting experiences and have learned some pretty interesting things. We decided early on that if we tried to get videos or photos, it would not be very good. And as we were very curious and wanted to learn everything we could, we did not put cameras up. We were pretty frightened at first, but common sense prevailed, and we decided that we would just sit and ignore them. But we did put a microphone in our back window so that we could hear what was going on at night in our backyard. We had found some structures and a hiding place close to our back window and deck. We also found big structures in our backwoods. My husband made videos of these structures, but he kept going back to them over 3 times. Then one day we went out to see them. They were all torn down. We felt that they knew he was paying a lot of attention to their things and that we knew about them. That night we heard them coming up to our house over the mic, and they were not sneaking up as they had done in the previous visits, but were stomping their feet, grunting, breaking sticks with their hands, and whistling loudly. We were scared to death, but we just laid in bed and listened to them over our FM radios from our mic in the window. They will never come unless we are in bed and the lights are off. They went away in a few minutes, and that was the beginning of our experiences with our night visitors. I think the aggressive visit was a test to see how we would react and if we would be a threat to them in any way by shining bright lights, bringing our guns, etc. We did not react then, and for weeks we would just listen and learn as they came in every few nights to walk around, sit, fool around with our yard things, but they never hurt or took anything. If you are interested, I would love to tell you and your listeners about our many experiences and how we learned to communicate with these amazing creatures. That was an awesome email, Andrea, and I really appreciate you for submitting your Bigfoot experiences into the channel. I thought that was really interesting that your husband started videoing these structures and whatever he found and paying close attention to it, and these things destroyed it. I was just talking about that in my last Bigfoot email video. I went down to the creek bottom, like I said. I was checking on this rock circle. They placed a bunch of rocks in a circle, just like I talked about in the last video. And I went back and it was destroyed. If you guys watched the Ozark Hairy Man and I go out to one of my big structure areas, a lot of the X structures, the arches, just all the structures in general in this pine forest were all destroyed. So I don't know if it was people or the Sasquatch. Okay, so right over there across the driveway there was a big arch, and it had like this tree that was holding it down, and there's a bunch of sticks gathered around it. I started video recording that structure. This was before I had my encounters, and after the encounters they destroyed that arch. So I believe that if you pay close attention to these structures, the Sasquatch notice that and they'll come back and destroy the structures, just because it's pretty minimal stuff. It looks like deadfall, and I think it's meant for them to communicate with one another, but once it starts gaining a lot of attention by humans, I think they destroy it. I think that's their go-to. They want to be left alone. They want to live peacefully, for the most part, out in the woods. So if their signs gathering too much attention, they'll quit putting up structures, they'll quit interacting, and they'll tear down the structures. But yeah, that was a really interesting email, just because after I started documenting the structures and having the activity, they started coming up to the house around here, and it was around every 2 weeks they'd come up and they'd walk around the perimeter of the property in the woods, and you could hear them out there. It sounded like bipedal footsteps. You could hear trees getting broken, crack, when there wouldn't be any wind at all. But my theory behind that was, I ran into the juvenile, and they came to show me who was boss. You know, that they're out there and they dominate the woods, not me. That was the impression I got, but it could have been the fact that it was just an active area and they were around the whole time. But yeah, let's get into this next Bigfoot email. Alright, this next Bigfoot email is by Mauro. I think that's how you say it. It's spelled M-A-U-R-O. And the title is Bigfoot Sighting. In 2000, my mom and I were traveling to Arizona to visit my brother, and we're going through Oklahoma. We live in Illinois. It was about 2 a.m. and I believe we were on I-55, and from as far as my headlight would shine, I was starting to see this object appearing on the shoulder. The closer we got, the bigger it got. I glanced over at my mom and I noticed her trying to focus in on this thing as well. At least at this point, I knew it wasn't just me seeing it. We got to it, we noticed it was running on two legs and had long stringy hair, and its shoulders were to the top of our conversion van, so it had to be about 9 to 10 feet tall and was taking huge stride steps. As we passed it up, we both looked at each other and we both asked, "What was that?" My mom said it was a horse, but it was running on two legs. Till this day, I believe we saw Bigfoot. We will never forget that day. I just wanted to share my story. Alright, thank you so much for submitting in your Bigfoot story, your encounter actually. There's a lot of sightings that take place along the roadsides, and I've heard a lot of stories where people see big hairy legs. But yeah, that was a really cool email, and I really appreciate you for sending that in to Sasquatch Theory. Alright, this next Bigfoot email is from Carrie, and it's called Bigfoot Throwing Rocks in the River, Alabama. Hi Miguel, I'll start off by saying I really appreciate what you do and how hard you work to make this happen. I myself am in the woods a lot because I do a bunch of scouting and hunting in the area, and usually only carry my rifle, backpack, and sidearm. It must be super difficult to have all that camera equipment and be filming, plus trying not to fall or get poked in the eye by a stick. Anyways, you and your work are much appreciated. I will give you a rundown of my story because it wasn't really much, but it did happen, and for years I never really gave it much thought. I live in Mobile, Alabama, which is pretty close to as south as you can get in the state, and grew up close to there in a small town called Luxley, where this encounter happened. I always liked the idea of Bigfoot for as long as I can remember, and have spent most of my life in the woods or close to them, and never really had anything happen to make me think of the creature until about 2007. I was 19 years old. I will be 35 this Sunday, February 5th, and I will pretend like the video you put up that day is your birthday gift to me. Thanks, by the way. So, summer of 2007, myself and 3 other people were parked on a wooden beamed bridge. The kind you find deep in the woods on truck trails, and they are sketchy to drive over, but I have always kind of liked driving over them, and it was about 15 foot over the shallow creek that ran under it. We were just sitting in the truck, all the windows down, parked in the middle of this bridge, listening and looking at night around us, when all of a sudden this loud, shrill scream to our left rang over us. We were all like, "What the hell was that?" and started to get freaked out, and just as one of the people in the front started to open the truck door to get a better look in the same direction, something big was thrown into the creek. The splash sounded like someone threw a cinder block in the water. Directly after the splash came a crashing through the trees that made it sound like whatever was moving was huge. That was enough for everyone to be ready to go, and we just got out of there as fast as we could. This is also a place I frequently went, and there were no beaver living in this area, so I know that wasn't what caused the splash. I never saw anything, but who knows what it really was. But now that I'm older and have learned more about this subject, I think it could have been my only experience with a Sasquatch. That's cool. I'm open to them being a fellow creature among us, just as long as they don't start popping out of the shadows when I'm deep in the woods and alone. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you because I feel like you share so much with us, and I look forward to new content on the channel. And glad to be a member also. Thank you. Feel free to follow if you want, and she shared her Instagram. Thank you so much for sharing your encounter with me. I've heard a lot of people talk about rocks being thrown in the river, and it just sounds like they get territorial when they're in the area and they don't want people around. The fact that you heard something crashing through the woods definitely tells me it was something territorial that didn't want you around, for sure. You guys made the right move, I think, by getting out of there, and I think they are peaceful for the most part, but if you get in their way, they're going to let you know, and sometimes people get hurt. That's the unfortunate thing, but you made the right call by getting out of there. And yeah, Alabama is a hot area. There's not a whole lot of people out there. There's a lot of timber, so they're definitely around. But yes, thank you so much for sharing your story with everyone here on Sasquatch Theory, and I appreciate all the kind words that you had. So thank you very much. I hope you had an awesome birthday, and I hope you continue enjoying the woods. Let me know if you come across anything else. Thank you. Alright, I hope you guys are enjoying the Bigfoot emails. If I start slowing down and stuttering, it's because I get really nervous. Sometimes I just stumble over words, so I apologize. And yeah, it's better just to keep rolling through the emails and keep trucking through. Alright, this next Bigfoot email was submitted by Brandy, and it's called Ozark Experience. I'm not sure if this experience is worth reporting or not. Last fall, my husband and two of our friends were kayaking outside of Branson in the Ozark National Forest. We were the only ones out there for at least 5 to 6 hours. We were followed all day by both bald and golden eagles, which was strange. They literally flew over our heads the whole time, stopping tree to tree and communicating. About 3 to 4 hours in, we heard something on the bank rustling in the heavy tree line. Then we heard what sounded like something mimicking a hog. We stopped, and my husband said, "Hello?" Really loud. It responded, "Hello," back, but the respond sounded like a howl, a deaf person, I would say. My husband thought maybe it was a bird, but I questioned it. What are the odds both a hog and a bird are in the same exact location right between a tree line just out of our sight? After that, we kept our eyes on the tree line for the rest of the way, but didn't see anything. I've had an interest in cryptids for many years, so I'm sensitive to my surroundings when I go out into the woods. My husband thinks it's hilarious because he says I look more like the type of person who is interested in spas and nails, which I am interested in those too, by the way, more than cryptids. I've heard that Sasquatch like women. So if you ever need to use me for bait in one of your next excursions, just let me know. And she mentions the town that she lives in and to send her a message if I'm interested. I did reach out to her and thanked her for submitting her story. I just kind of backed out just because I don't really know her personally, and I feel like it's a bad idea bringing someone into my personal research area, and I don't know everyone, so I have to trust people before I can bring them out. But no, I do appreciate your enthusiasm and your interest in the cryptid subject, and I hope you don't take it the wrong way that I didn't follow up too much on going out, just because I got a lot of things going on in my life, and I have projects that I need to stick to. So I hope you understand, and I really, really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for submitting that. And yeah, it sounds like Sasquatch. probably. The fact that the eagles were going off kind of tells me that there was something moving through the woods, and I believe the Sasquatch used the surrounding wildlife to pick up on things that are in the woods, if that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely feel that Sasquatch have some type of connection with wildlife, especially birds, owls, hawks, eagles. It could have been very possible there were Sasquatch moving through that area and the eagles were going off like crazy, because on a membership video I'm walking through the woods in a ghillie suit doing owl calls and the hawks are going nuts over it. There's people that call this theory woo and BS. There's a guy on the membership channel. He started following the membership, claims he's a professional researcher. I'll bite my tongue. But I mentioned that it could be possible the Sasquatch can climb up into the trees, pull out like a baby hawk or an owl and raise it. It's not very hard to put a worm down into its mouth. But this guy got really upset and said my channel's complete BS and I'm going to the woo side and basically everything's effing BS. I'll bite my tongue, but I will say you have no idea what you're even talking about. You get in my comments and everything I do, you critique me, you cuss, and you tell me I'm doing everything the wrong way. All I have to say is, if you're so right, where are your videos? Where's your gear? Where are your awesome Bigfoot shots? You know, I have my own experiences, so do you. So I don't understand why people are following the membership if they're going to ridicule me. That's why I created the membership, was to get away from the public's eye and not get ridiculed as much. But I will bite my tongue because I didn't so much when I commented back to him and he got really upset. So I won't say anything on the video, but you didn't have the experiences that I did. When the Sasquatch were here, the hawks would be going nuts. There'd be at least 3 or 4 of them going nuts all day, and those would be the spots that I'd be having Bigfoot activity in, okay? I've noticed through my journey experiences that these animals, creatures, beings, whatever you want to call them, communicate with animals. They mimic animals. So if you want to call my data BS and act like you're the king ding of Sasquatch research, then why don't you start your own channel, do your own thing? Why are you paying to watch my stuff? You know, don't make sense that you're paying to put me down. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, the person that emailed me, I think you're right. I think there could have been something in there, and I think the eagles were letting you guys know. So very good observation. That's an excellent theory, and I appreciate you taking the time to write that up and submitting it to the channel. That really means a lot. But yeah, moving on guys. Sorry about the rant. I have another email. Actually, this one I found in the comments, so I hope you don't mind if I read it. I found it really interesting, and I don't feel like I had to ask for permission because you put it on my channel for the public to see. But this was by Brian. I won't say the last name. Mark Twain experience, Sierra Sounds. I've had a similar encounter in deep southern Missouri. They are most certainly using language. They use snarls and other utterances. They also can make these language sounds while breathing inward. Also, they speak faster than we do. The sounds I heard deep in the Mark Twain National Forest in far south Missouri sounded very similar to the Sierra sounds. I had not ever heard the Sierra sounds until long after my encounter. I described my experiences on the BFRO website within 48 hours of returning from the camping trip. I described the language as 2 large dogs arguing in Spanish or Japanese. One was obviously male and the other was obviously female or a juvenile. This was like 20-something years ago. The female was scolding the male after he did a series of huge, angry display calls at us just within the tree line. It was at night. I had one buddy with me. We were tent camping. It started just after dinner. We had a large campfire and loud rock music playing. You can't make this stuff up. We later experienced a large rock or boulder throwing into the stream about 30 or 50 feet upstream from our campsite. We were the only campers in the primitive state campground. It was late October. It really happened, people. No reason to lie. Although we didn't see them, the sounds they made were obviously from a large animal other than a human. Possibly used ULF sounds because it made our hair stand on end and triggered our flight or fight response. The sound was much deeper and louder than any human could possibly make. It caused an echo from the small hills behind us that was almost as powerful as the original sound in front of us. It was so loud and deep, I could feel it in my chest, like a loud live guitar or bass guitar at a rock concert. It was an amazing and awesome event I will never forget for the rest of my life. Wow, that was an awesome comment, and that was worth reading. Wasn't it worth reading, guys? I think that was awesome, and that was worth saving. I save all the awesome comments that I come across, and hope you guys don't mind. I have a huge collection. But that is really interesting that you guys were camping out in the Mark Twain National Forest. You guys cooked dinner, and that's when they sounded off. I think they smelled the food. They obviously noticed your guys' presence, and they weren't happy. And males, from what I hear, will typically display that type of behavior. And from what I've come to understand from the Sierra sounds, there was a male, and it sounded like there was a female that was upset with what it was doing, and it was trying to calm it down. So Ron Moorhead, consider yourself lucky, because something was probably getting ready to go down. So you might have to consider yourself lucky. You guys are seeing the evil side and the good side all within the same clan. You know how people say there's good ones and there's bad ones? Well, within the same clan you have bad ones, which is the bigger males, and then you have the females that are more gentle, and the juveniles that are more gentle and just want to live at peace. And that sounds like people, you know, guys getting fights and the girlfriend's trying to calm down the guy from not beating up the other person, and that's how it works. It's the same scenario with the Sasquatch. Sasquatch get really mad, they get really aggressive, and they want to puff up their chest and show who's boss. And sometimes if you're lucky, there will be a female there to calm the situation down and diffuse the situation. So I know the Sasquatch isn't listening, but thank you for not tearing off these guys' heads. Yeah, that sounds like you found an awesome research area, a Class A research area on that trip. From what you told me, I feel like if you went back to that area, Brian, you'd experience some activity. If you did not experience activity, I can almost assure you, I can't guarantee it, but I bet you would probably find some really good structures in that area. Without a doubt. If you comb through that area, make sure you know where you're at, pay attention to the terrain, you'll probably find some stuff. Go to where the sounds were. Where did they vocalize at? Walk to those spots, and you'll probably find structures, you'll probably find sign. Okay? It's no different than, okay, I heard 2 bucks fighting in that field last night. Let's go there in the morning, see what happens. You're probably going to have some good luck. If you sit over here where you didn't hear it and you're expecting them to come to you, you might not have any luck. So if you go over there, things should look pretty good. And the Mark Twain National Forest is a really hot area for Bigfoot activity and cryptid creatures. There's a lot of unknown stuff in the Mark Twain National Forest. So I'm urging you guys, I'm telling you guys, if you go out there, bring a sidearm. Bring someone else with you. I know there's a lot of macho hunters that are like, I go out there all the time. I've been going out there my whole life. But yeah, that is true. And you probably know 100 times more about hunting than I do. But from my experience, I experienced something rare that no one else, not most people encounter. And I will tell you, just be careful, because all it takes is one time, man. One time, and you could be one of those signs in Walmart or a missing 411 story. If you guys haven't listened to David Politis, The Missing 411, check it out. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's about hunters that go missing in national parks and in the woods in general, and they investigate it, and people can't figure out what happened to these people. Everything's strange every step along the way, and there's no answer to what happened to these people, and a lot of people suspect it's Sasquatch. So if you guys can, check it out. It's called The Missing 411, okay, by David Politis. Check it out. All right, moving on to our last and final Bigfoot email that was submitted to the channel, and this was sent in by Chris. My name is Chris. This actually took place about 5 years ago. Exact location was at Earth City Expressway in St. Charles, Missouri area. Kind of off the banks of the Missouri River around 9 a.m. springtime. I was driving to work on 364 and couldn't stop because I was late. It was probably 200 yards away, but there was a massive all-black creature squatting, not sitting, in the middle of an empty dirt crop field, digging and pulling something to its mouth with what looked like a hand. Its legs looked a little shorter than its massive upper body with no neck. I only saw it from the back and kind of a side view, and for maybe around 5 seconds or so. In that area is a lot of vegetable farms, and I see a group of wild turkeys and the occasional deer all the time, so it would have stuff to eat. I've told my family, but they think I am crazy. Dang it, man. Freaking ticks, man. Can't stand those things. Wish they'd all die. I've told my family, but they think I'm crazy and dismiss it. It has just been stuck in my brain, and it's just nice to know others in Missouri have had similar sightings, and it kind of helps me know I'm not insane. Thank you, Chris. All right, Chris, thank you so much for submitting in your email, and I believe you 100%. I've gotten encounter stories from the St. Louis County area within city limits. There's a lot of big woods in the city, and I think people think it's impossible for there to be a Sasquatch in St. Louis somewhere, but I'm here to tell you there probably is, because the waterways that go through there, the Native American artifacts, the conservation areas, the giant woods and hills. Yeah, there's a lot of highways and people and just public areas, but there is a lot of woods out there in areas that people just can't build in just because of the flooding, and there is a lot of wildlife in there. There's been a lot of trophy deer that have been taken out of there, and to grow a big male buck and for it to get old takes a lot of land. Not a lot of land, but it takes areas that you can hide in, and a lot of food and a lot of water, and those are all the things that Sasquatch need to thrive in. So I definitely believe you saw something, and I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to write your story in and submit it to the channel. I apologize it took so long to read this, but like I said, I'm going through these emails, guys. I'm not going to stop till I finish them all, and that's a promise. All right, one more thing before I end this video. I emailed Chris, and his response was, the area I would say is city, but in the wooded area along the Missouri River. You could use my story if you'd like, but I think I will pass on the Zoom thing because of the ridicule I'd probably get from family if they found out. Yeah, it's no big deal, Chris. You've done enough, and I really appreciate your bravery and the fact that you were courageous enough to submit your story into the channel. And I know that took a big leap of faith, so I really appreciate you believing in my channel and all the other people that have told their Bigfoot encounters in the past, no matter what channel it was on. Thank you so much for stepping up and doing something that's greater than yourself. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody for listening. And I'm sorry about my monotone voice. Hope you guys enjoy the videos. All right, that was a very interesting set of Bigfoot emails, and I really appreciate everyone that submitted their Bigfoot encounter into the channel. That really means a lot, and it really helps out the channel grow. So I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the way I put this video together. So thank you so much. And for everybody listening, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It really helps the channel grow. And if you guys can, please like and subscribe. And we'll be back at it later. Thank you guys and take care.